There we go. All right. Just fixing some stuff today. I don't know what happened. I messed up my totally messed up my or my folder. I had this idea that I could switch to a new user on my Mac to make like privacy stuff a little easier, and then I just got tired of doing that after about 2 seconds, so decided to give up. But in the process, I think I deleted the Phoenix archive from my computer, so I couldn't run like Mix Phoenix server. Or that's not what I wanted to do. But anyways, that didn't work, so I just had to quickly get all together. So I think I'm back now. I got my app running over here, and let me just make sure this works. So I'm gonna go add my Corey. I had to reinstall all the things I did yesterday. It wasn't that hard though because we paid attention when we did it, which was kind of neat. But now I got to figure out where this hello web, render. So we're gonna get into the adding pages documentation in a second. I just got to figure out where I added that Corey was here thing. I don't remember. Boom. Let's see. That's kind of interesting. There it is. And let's update it here. Corey was here. All right, cool. Everything works again. Yay. All right, let me go check to make sure everything's working on this side. Okay, sound works. I see a couple people here. What's up, Rob? Yeah, right. I love that they run ads and it doesn't. It just like quietly says like, "Hey, this isn't gonna help the person. This isn't gonna help the person streaming right now. It's just for us," which is fine. Look, like Twitch needs to make money. I'm okay with that. They're providing a service here of sorts. Cool. Okay. So yesterday, we got through the basics of installation, and we got our Phoenix app up and running. And we edited one little line and one little template randomly, or one little page randomly. So today's goal is to get through adding pages and understand how pages work. Somebody asked me, it was actually Rob, who's not a developer. He's like, I don't really understand anything you're saying, but it's it's somewhat interesting nonetheless. And it's worth stating the context for this isn't a tutorial. So if you actually want to learn how to use this, like you should just do what I'm doing, or you should go find a tutorial like on Udemy or something like that. There's some really good ones out there, amongst other places. This is more just watching me figure something out and maybe getting an idea of how somebody thinks through something, which is probably not interesting. That's fine. So yeah, so sorry if I'm kind of jumping around to random things. I'm not exactly prioritizing the teaching part. It's more the exploration part. So okay, so adding pages. So our task for this guide and therefore this episode. Oh, the timer. Stand by. So we got 40 minutes on the clock. I think 40 minutes is a good amount of time. That's about what we did yesterday. So that should be working now. So the goal for today is adding pages. 40 minutes. So let's see if we can do it. All right. Our task for this guide is adding 2 new pages to our Phoenix project. One will be a purely static page, and the other will be a part of the path from URL as input and pass through the template for display. Okay. When Phoenix generates a new application, it builds a top-level directory structure like this. So this is always fun when you get into a new framework, is looking at like what the basics are. We have a build, which typically like a build would mean something that you're compiling down into some kind of folder that is then used to actually render the thing. It's probably what build means. I guess we'll find out later. Assets are all that stuff that Webpack is probably using, CSS, JavaScript, Node stuff. Static is going to be like images and other favicon stuff. That makes sense. Nothing in the vendor folder. And then our Webpack stuff. I don't really know about Webpack, so I'm sure it's important. But in frameworks like this, they usually abstract away needing to know anything, which is kind of nice. Config, that's usually settings and stuff like this. I mean, this looks very. It doesn't look Rails-ish, but it kind of looks Rails-ish. Ruby on Rails. They kind of did some of the same stuff, which is great because that's where I come from. So at least I understand that. Deps is short for dependencies, I assume. And here's all the are they called hex packages? Let's look. Elixir hex. Because they're called like Ruby gems, but I think they're called hex packages. Package manager must be called packages. So that's what that is. Deps are all the packages we have. Lib. So lib has hello web, hello.x, hello web.x. Okay. So figure this. I noticed this here says most of our work with this guy will be in the lib hello web directory. So that's cool. So that means we'll understand lib later. So let's just ignore that. No idea what priv means. I'm sure it's important. Tests. We'll get into tests later. I'm excited about tests. And this is kind of cool. So it looks like Phoenix provides a default formatter, which I assume is a code formatter. So when you write code, it must do something. It looks like it imports Ecto and Phoenix as dependencies. I don't know if that's what formatter does. We'll probably find out later. Git ignore, that's pretty standard. So when we initialize the Git repo, it ignores the things that are smart. This is all of our mixed stuff. So this is sort of like a, what's the thing in JavaScript that they have? Like a package.json. Same kind of thing where you're like, you're naming your project and it sets up some defaults. It defines all your dependencies. Oh, so this is like your gem file if you come from Ruby. So this defines your dependencies and things like that. Oh, and it also looks like it actually sets up some of your commands that you can make, which is kind of neat. Cool. And then obviously we lock that file so that things don't change. And we have a README. Okay, so that's not super overwhelming of a directory structure, right? So most of our work is going to take place in the hello web directory, which holds the web-related parts of our application. It looks like this one expanded. We can expand it. We're good at expanding. Okay, so we have channels. We talked about channels yesterday. That's like the sockets stuff. We have controllers. Controllers are typically the connection between a route and some template or something like that. We have templates. That's going to be our layout, so how the HTML is structured. The page is another template. I'm sure those two kind of work together. A couple of different views. I have an endpoint, a get text, and a router. No idea what the get text. I don't know what these would do. So I guess we'll find out. Router makes sense. That's probably how we set up our URLs and which controllers they connect to. So that's kind of neat. All right. 5 minutes in, we're rolling right now. Cool. All the files which are currently in the controllers, templates, and views directories are there when we create the Welcome to Phoenix page. So that's this page. Okay. We'll see how we can reuse some of that code shortly. When running in development, code changes are automatically compiled and new web requests. This is really cool. So if you're looking at, I don't know where my page went that I was messing around with. I wonder where that went. We have a controller that renders index.html. Oh, here it is. It's under templates page. So if I say query was here in 2019 and I save, it actually automatically updates. And I assume over here, live reload is happening. So there's actually something watching all the files, and it compiles it on the fly, and then it automatically, I assume it automatically reloads. So if I do for life, yeah. So that's really cool. So it actually recompiles and then reloads the browser. There's pipelines and other stuff I'm sure we'll learn about later, which is kind of cool. Okay, sure. That's really neat. It's one of those little things that like, it's 2019. Like when you press save, it should reload. You know what I mean? But not everything does that these days, which is it's cool that it does that. All right, all of the files, which are blah 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 blah. Yep, we went over that. Our static assets are in the assets directory, which makes sense. That's where our JavaScript and CSS is. They're built into the priv static directory. Is that inside of assets? Whoops. Assets, priv, static. Okay, so priv must be privileged must be a directory that you know, I guess publicly holds that stuff. Maybe priv is like the public folder in Rails or something like that. That's cool. What's next? Oh, there's also some non-web related files. Okay, the thing that starts the app, that's always important. So let's go lib, right? That's where you would expect this kind of thing to be to start the application. So it looks like there's a hello web, which represents the web part of the application. I don't understand. I know that there's some kind of difference between like Phoenix having a web version and a non-web version or something like that, or like how they separate. So it looks like this is kind of starting to explain a little bit about what's going on there. So we have our application. So it's just a module, which we'll get into later, like what that actually is. Um, I'm sure, but we have an application. It's using the application, whatever that means. I don't quite know. We'll dig into that later. We have some kind of a method that says start. It defines a repo and an endpoint. All right, so start the Ecto repository, start the endpoint, and the application starts. Some other stuff here. Ooh, supervisor. I'm sure that's important. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Um, okay, and then repo, I noticed that's our thing that connects to our database, right? So this is saying the app's name is hello, and the adapter is using MySQL, which is what we decided to use because we were trying to save time, which is fine. Okay, let's see. It starts our Elixir app here. We also have our repo for interacting database. You can learn more from the guide to Ecto. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I have a little notepad going. I'm going to add to that note things that we can learn as we go here. So I'm just going to add Ecto. Thank you, Clayton. Welcome to the stream. Like, subscribe, follow, donate, etc. Not really. I don't know how to even set that up. I looked at Streamlabs and like you can't even set Streamlabs up on OS X. I don't think so. Ecto. All right, Ecto's on the to-do list. We'll get there. But thanks for coming, Clayton, and showing the support. Appreciate you, man. All right, cool. Ecto, we got it. Here's our lib. So in our lib directory, it contains all the lib hello web. Okay, so let's close down all this stuff to keep it clean. So now we're looking at the hello web folder right here. It contains all our web related files, routers, controllers, templates, channels. The rest of our greater Elixir application lives in hello, and you can structure code here like any other Elixir app. So basically it's saying that there's a web app under hello web and then there's an Elixir app under hello. I'm not competent enough to really understand what that means. But it's different than say Rails because Rails, like the whole thing is the web app, right? Any traditional web application, the whole thing is the web app. So this they kind of have like two little things sitting in there, which is kind of neat. Like you can have like maybe many web apps within one repo. I'm not sure. Enough prep. Let's get on with our first Phoenix page. Okay, I'm down with that. Especially considering it took me over 30 minutes. We're rolling. Any questions so far? Good, because I don't understand anything anyways. All right, new route. Routes map unique HTTP verb path pairs. Wow, that's a handful. To controller action pairs to handle them. That's typical REST stuff. So when you hit this page, you do a get to this URL, it renders some kind of page. Fine, that's standard. Good. Thank you for not making me learn anything new yet. Appreciate you. Generates a router file at router.ex. All right, I'm going to start flying around with this thing because I don't want to keep going through the directory structure. All right, so here's our router. This is where we will begin working for the section. The route for our Welcome to Phoenix page from the previous up and running guide looks like this. Get/page route. Okay, so this is pretty standard right here. So if we go to the root URL, we invoke the page controller, we render the index action. Okay, that's fine. Okay. For now, we'll ignore pipelines and use the scope and the use of scope here. Focus just on a route. Cool. Okay, we're gonna add a new route. Get. Hello. Hello, controller. Index action. The scope block for our router.ex file should now look like this. Right, so, okay, that's interesting. So it said that we're going to ignore scope, yeah? We'll ignore the use of scope. Okay, cool. Hang on. I got paged. That's okay. I can ignore this one for a minute. Stand by. This is real life. This is real life. We're on call. Snooze. An hour. Snooze. An hour. I promise I'm allowed to do that. All right. So, okay, interesting. So we're scoping around the hello web thing, whatever we call this thing, all these routes. We're piping it through browser, but we're ignoring what that means. Hang on, my coworker just said need help with the billing page. Yes, I do, because I'm trying to be famous by streaming. I'm going to link him to my stream. Twitch.tv/CodeTimeLive. Please subscribe, like, and follow. Okay, I'm sure he'll understand. What would be hard to understand about that statement? Fame is expensive. You're right. I mean, like, I can't be famous and be answering critical pages. It's ridiculous. All right. It's not an urgent page. I'm not irresponsible, I promise. Okay, new controller. So we've defined this thing called hello controller. We need to define that. We need to actually create that. Controllers are Elixir modules, which I think are just files basically in Elixir. They're just like this, def module. I don't think there's anything special about them besides that. And actions are functions defined in them. The purpose of actions is to gather any data and perform tasks needed when rendering. Our route specifies that we need a hello web, hello controller module. Right here? Our route, yeah, so we need a hello web. We're scoping it out to hello web. We need a hello controller module with an index to action. I think this is going to be the arity, which means the number of arguments it takes, because that's, I think, how Elixir functions work. To make that happen, let's create a new thing. Okay, cool. So we're going to do it in the hello web, controllers, new file. We'll name this hello controller ex. Okay, and we're going to define a module, hello web. That's like kind of, it's almost like it's scoped in the code to that. I wonder if that's the case. And there we need to use hello web as the controller. I wonder where that's all defined. This is like where the magic of frameworks come in, and if you don't understand the language, like I don't, you sort of get a little bit lost, but that's also where I kind of start to say, I'm sure it's important. I'll learn it when I need to learn it. For now, I'll just do what it's telling me to do. So we're going to define a action, or really a function inside this module called index. It accepts a connection and some parameters. My understanding, and this is basically how it's done in Ruby, is when you have an underscore, and even in the code app here, it actually makes it gray. It's because you're naming arguments that you don't necessarily care about. So you're not going to utilize the params arguments to this function, so you kind of put an underscore at the beginning of it. That's why they do that. We're going to render, call the render function, which I presume comes from the hello web controller, because there's no inheritance, I believe, in a functional language like that. So we can't inherit, but I think we can kind of include, and that's probably what this is doing. And I'm sure this render method, because there's no render method defined below, it must come from this, I'm guessing. We'll probably find out later. Connection, and we're going to render the connection, we're going to render index.html. Okay? We'll save discussion for hello web controller for the controller's guide. Cool. We'll get to the controller's guide later. For now, let's just focus on the index to action, which is this guy here. Are the colon prefix words variables? So this is a thing in Ruby. That's a great question. That's worth a detour. Elixir colon keyword. I don't. They call them symbols in Ruby. They're probably not called symbols in Elixir. Let's see. They're called atoms in Elixir. So I think. Yeah. Yes. So Elixir atoms. So atoms are a basic type in Elixir. Let's see. Atom. An atom is a constant whose name is its own value. Some other languages call these symbols. So basically, I don't know the specific. Look, I'm not a doctor. But basically you use these when you know you're never going to have to change them. They're like, imagine a string that can never change. That's essentially the way an atom is used. So oftentimes they're used to kind of indicate, like if I were to do this, I'm sure they could have made this work or whatever, but the indication when you use a atom is that they're never going to change. So you might as well not use a string. I mean, I'm sure there's a reason. Look, I'm just a plumber, okay? I'm not I'm just an electrician. I'm not an electrical engineer. So that's my understanding, though. So just imagine they're strings, except they can never change. That's sort of the way I always think about it. Okay, so we've done all this. So now we want to look at the index action. For now, let's focus on the index2 action. All controller actions take two arguments. First is the con, which is a struct, which a struct is like, a struct is just it's not an object because there are no objects. It's just a data structure. Structure, data structure, which holds a ton of data about the request. The second is params, which is the request parameters, which is like when you pass in the, I love this thing. Like, I don't know why this happens. Ever since I installed Elixir, the Beam SMP just does this like 5 times a day. I think it's just telling me I want you to stream about me. That's all I could put together. A struct holds a ton of data about the request. The second is params, which are request parameters. Right. So that's when you make a request to the server, you can pass either post or get params. Color equals red, after the question mark and the request URL or whatever. Here we are not using param, so we avoid compiler warnings with the leading. Oh, so they're functionally. So in Elixir, functionally this does something. So if I weren't to have that, the compiler would say, "Hey, FYI, you didn't use params." So you say to the compiler, "Don't worry about it. I don't need it. Don't bug me about it." Make sense? That's actually kind of cool. In Ruby, you do that as like almost as like a way to tell the person reading the code next, like, "Hey, FYI, this doesn't matter." So you put the underscore because Ruby doesn't care. But Elixir, clearly it matters because it does compile. The core of this action is this render line, connection index.html. This tells Phoenix to find a template called index.html EEX. EEX. I like that. And render it. Phoenix will look for the template in a directory named after our controller. So lib hello templates hello. Okay, so we probably don't have that. So lib hello web templates hello. No, okay, we're gonna come back to that because I'm gonna make it now because I feel like I forget. So hello. All right. No, using Atom as a template will also work here, but the template will be chosen based off the accept headers, e.g. index.html or index.json. I have no idea what that means. Using an atom as the template name would also work here, right? So that's what we talked about. So they're basically saying that it could look like this. Not that. But the template will be chosen based off the accept headers, e.g. index.html or index.json. Does anyone know what accept headers are? I feel like that sounds familiar. That must be a thing. Accept. That's like an HTTP. The accept request HTTP header advertises which content types expected. Is it meme or MIME types? It's probably MIME. The client is able to understand using content negotiation. The server then selects one of the proposals, uses it to inform the client of its choice of content type. Browsers set adequate values for this header depending on the context where the request is done. Oh, okay. So, in other words, right. So in your headers of your request, you will say the content type is either JSON or not. So if in the header you said it's JSON, it's going to know we're looking for the index.json file, not the index.html. So what you write here, does that mean what you write here doesn't matter? I mean, to a certain extent, it seems. It will also work here, but the template will be chosen based off the header. The modules responsible for rendering views will make no change. That's interesting. Yeah, that is kind of cool. I wonder what happens if it's not there. I'm gonna go with the tutorial just because that's what we're doing right now. But I wonder if you were to pass index.json, it probably wouldn't find it. If you did index and then pass a content type of JSON, it probably wouldn't find it. That's actually kind of neat. It's actually really neat. So instead of having to like do an if then and say, oh, if they ask for JSON, do this. If they ask for HTML, do this. You could just say, just do index, right? And it'll always get the right one based on the content type. And it probably defaults to, you know, HTML or something like that. That is a pretty sweet feature. All right, cool. What are we doing on time? 18 minutes. We're fine. Does that come through? Is the timer coming through fine? I know yesterday the one I was using was totally freezing on me. It was really annoying. So I found a new app on the internet. You have to let me know if it's actually working. The new view. Phoenix views have several important jobs. They render templates. They also act as a presentation layer for raw data from the controller, preparing it for use in a template. They render templates. They prepare data for use in templates. View. So this is weird because they call it a view, but they don't have a view folder. That's fine. Oh no, they do have a view folder. I lied. Okay. They render the template. So a view renders a template, and they prepare data. Interesting. Okay, fine. Let's keep going. As an example, say we have a data structure which represents a user with a first name field and a last name field. And in a template, we want to show the user's full name. We could write code in the template to merge those fields into a full name. But the better approach is to write the function in a view. Okay. Then call that function in a template. Okay, so this is really the decorator pattern, right? It sounds like it's the decorator pattern to me. Is there like not a terrible one? Can we just, come on, internet. I feel like Martin Fowler probably has like a thing on this. Here we go, big enough. So you have your component. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. The decorator pattern though is basically you have an object, and then you have a decorator, and the decorator does a bunch of stuff on the object before you render it in a view, so that you don't have to put all your handy dandy view stuff in your object class, right? It allows behavior to be added to the individual object dynamically without affecting the behavior of other objects of the same class. The decorator pattern is often used for adhering to single responsibility principle, as it allows functionality to be divided between classes with unique areas of concern. The decorator pattern is structurally nearly identical to the chain responsibility pattern. So basically that's all to say the object does object things, the decorator decorates the object and makes it look nice, so on and so forth. So you don't have one object doing both of those jobs. So it sounds like the view is actually kind of like the decorator, and the template just renders the thing. Which is interesting because view traditionally doesn't mean that. Like runtime manipulation. That sounds fancier than I'm capable of, Clayton. But yeah, no, I mean, ultimately you don't want to do all those things in one place. So the better approach is to write a function in the view for to do it. I wonder why so their definition, we're gonna have to put a to do item where the definition of their definition, Phoenix's definition of view is very different potentially than the definition of view in Rails, which is just something to note, and we'll get to it later. And other kind of standard MVC apps of the old days. In order to render any templates for our hello controller, we need a hello view. The names are significant here. The first part of the name of the view is in the controller must match. This is pretty typical like meta programming type stuff. It automatically kind of interprets it and does the right thing if you name it right. Let's create an empty one here for now and leave a more detailed description of views for later. Create lib hello web views hello view. Let's make sure we're in the right place. Views, so we need to create a new file called hello view.ex. Okay, define a module, because that's basically how everything works here, it seems. Hello web dot hello view do use hello web view. That's another atom for you, Clayton. So here we're defining a view. We're telling it to use the hello web view, I guess. I don't know what this could possibly do that's useful. But we're going to get to that later when we do some of the view tutorial stuff. Oh, it's empty. It says, well, let's create an empty one. Okay, it doesn't do anything intentionally. That makes sense. A new template. Phoenix templates are just that. Templates into which data can be rendered. We kind of discerned that the last section, which is good. The standard template is EEX. I wonder how that's pronounced. Embedded Elixir. I'm going with EEX, which stands for Embedded Elixir. Phoenix enhances EEX to include automatic escaping of values. That seems like useful. This protects you from security vulnerabilities like cross-site scripting with no extra work on your part. That's awesome, thank you. All of our templates have an EEX extension. That's how you say that, right? Templates are scoped to a view, which are scoped to a controller. Templates, scope to view, scope to controller, right? Because the template renders the stuff, the view helps with single responsibility, making things work in the middle there, and they're all scoped to a controller, which connects us to with the route, which originates from the request. So we're kind of seeing how it all connects together. Phoenix creates a lib hello web templates directory where we can put these. It's best to namespace these for organization. So for our hello page, it means we create a hello directory under the templates folder. Okay, hello, I did that earlier. Right. Then create an index HTML EEX file within it. Index HTML EEX. Make it look like this. Okay, so this is just HTML now. Well, it's EEX, which is basically HTML that allows you to embed Elixir into it, and it probably compiles down into HTML at compilation or whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about, so I'm sure that's the case. Boom. Boom. Phoenix dash hero. Phoenix dash hero. I feel like I'm not getting autocomplete for some reason. That's okay. Hello, world. From planet EEX. I'm going to customize it a little because, trying to make this interesting. Cool. Now that we've got the route, the controller, the view, and the template, we should be able to point our browsers to /hello and get a greeting from Phoenix. In case you stop the server along the way, start again. Okay? It's a moment of truth. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But it's still cool nonetheless. So to review, we added a route to our router. It says get, meaning the HTTP verb get versus post or put or patch. Get /hello, right? /hello. Look at the hello controller. Index action. Hello controller. Index action. We're going to call the render method function. No methods, I don't think. Function. Because we're in functional programming. The render function, pass in the connection, which is a struct of connection data, bunches of data. And I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is called. Whatever. It's just like what template are we going to render? Or what view. Is it a view or is it a template? That's actually worth kind of putting together in our head. Index.html is the which one is it? It's the template, right? It's the template. Find the template called index.html. So it's interesting. It finds the template first. So it says render the connection template index.html. So in hello, we find that one, and then that renders it. So when does the view thing happen? I mean, when does the view thing happen? Hello web. In order to render so this is interesting, right? So let's do this. So in the view, let's play with this a little. We have a hello view. If we do this, does this explode? Function hello web hello view render to is undefined. Oh, here it is. Hello view is undefined. So render to is actually coming from the view. It's actually coming from the view. So if we look at hello web controller, wow, that's what we're in. I bet if we were to go look at the controller class, actually, what do we got for time? 8 minutes. I think we're pretty much. Are we pretty much done for today? Wait. Oh god, we're not done. Okay, stand by. We're gonna have to come back to this. Save that. Uncomment that. Get our thing back. Okay, we're gonna have to keep going. It sounds like the controller relies upon a view to render a template. That's why we had to make this empty template, which makes sense. But I would have thought that you'd call the view and the view would render the template. But I think that all happens behind the scenes in the controller, which is fine. I didn't realize we were gonna make us add another page. Let's add a little complexity to our application. We're going to add a new page that will recognize a little piece of URL, label it as messenger, and pass it through the controller in the template so our messenger can say hello. Last time we did this, the first thing we'll do, as we did last time, we'll create a new route. Okay, so now we're doing the old go back around the bend here to solidify our knowledge, right? So we're going to still be scoped in hello web. We're probably just going to create another thing here. Get hello messenger, right? So there's another example of I don't know if that's technically an atom. It's a string with a colon in it, but it's used here. It's used as kind of a variable placeholder type thing. We're still hitting our controller, and this time we're going to hit the show action, right? Notice we put the atom. Oh, it is an atom. Notice we put the atom messenger in the path. Phoenix will take whatever value appears in that position in the URL and pass a map. Oh god, a map is just like a key value in Elixir. It's a basic type map key value with the key messenger pointing to the value in the controller. For example, if we point the browser at hello Frank, the value messenger will be Frank. So that's all to say that it'll pass a map that says something like messenger. I don't know if this is how they are formed. This is Ruby. Frank. So it'll pass this kind of a struct down into the controller and do something with it, presumably later. A new action. Requests to our route will be handled by the controller show action, right? So we need to go over to our controller. We need to find a new function, show, accepts the parameter of con. And this time, I bet we're going to need those params, right? So this is probably what they want us to do, but we're going to do something a little different I can see in the tutorial. So now we're going to do a little bit of pattern matching, it looks like. So we accept the connection, and we're going to say we accept the params when that messenger thing that I just wrote down, when the messenger Frank thing comes down the pipe, we expect it to look like this. It's going to be a map. It's going to say messenger. Pay attention, this is important. We're doing pattern matching in Elixir. And we're going to say this parameter should be assigned to messenger. So we expect this param to look something like this, right? This messenger Frank, right? That's what the example said. So what we're saying is when you find, if the param that comes in looks like this, we want you to match it against this. So basically look at these like right on top of each other. We want you to match these two up. And whatever shows up in this spot in the exact match, we want you to assign it to messenger. So at the end of the day, messenger, if I typed messenger, it would return Frank, the string. So that's pattern matching. Take two things that look identical, okay, and say, I want you to assign whatever's on this right-hand side. I want you to assign whatever's in this place, in this struct. I want you to assign it to this thing called messenger. So now in here, messenger would equal Frank, right? So now we're going to render, again, render, same thing. We're going to render show.html, and we're going to set the variable to that view to messenger. The variable messenger, the value of messenger, which is matching to Frank. Does that make sense? I like that. That's awesome. Okay, so now we go into our view, passing down messenger. We go into our view. A couple things notice here. Pattern match messenger variable to Frank within the body of the show action. Key value pair where messenger is the key and messenger is the variable passed. If the body of the action needs access to the full map parameters, we could define show2 like this. Wait, is that not what I did? Oh, equals params. Yeah, sure. Messenger params equals params messenger. Okay. So basically there's, yeah, we can ignore that for now. That's complicated. My brain is full now. It's good to remember that the keys in params map will always be strings, and that equal sign do not represent assignment but pattern match. Yeah, that's what we just went over. So there's no assignment there. That's important. What I didn't mean to do a Ruby hash. I meant to do that. Oh no, I didn't need to do Ruby hash. Right, because that's what the map looks like. They're saying this equals here. That's a pattern match. So that's indication that we want to take the left side should look like this. Params on the right should look like this. Shout out to my coworker Ryan for resolving that page. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. All right. A new template for the last piece of the puzzle. We'll need a new template. What are we doing on time? We got to be getting close. 3 minutes. All right, we're fine. We're under a new template. Since it is for the show action of the hello controller, it will go in the templates hello. So let's get back. Templates hello. We create a new file called show.html.exe. Right? It will look surprisingly like our index.html template, except that we will need to display the name of our messenger. Right? Okay, so we're going to do some div. So this is the same. Div equals Phoenix hero. That's just CSS. We love CSS. H2 hello world from. So here we're doing some kind of string interpolation or whatever. We'll see what they call it. At messenger, right? So that's how we get back to the messenger thing we passed down. Our messenger appears as an at messenger. In this case, this is not a module attribute. It's a special bit of meta-programmed syntax, which stands in for assigns messenger. The result is much nicer on the eyes and easier to work with in the template. When you're done, point your browser to Hello Frank. You should see the page. It looks like this. Hello Clayton Tron 5000. We did something wrong. Messenger. Hello Clayton Tron 5000. Eeks. Show. Messenger. It must be something here. I think I did it wrong. Def show connection. Do the pattern match on messenger. But bummer. It's all your fault, Clayton. Render connection, show HTML, messenger. I feel like I spelled something wrong. Messenger. That's something messenger. With a router. That was it right there. Right? That's a typo. Messenger is not the same as messenger. So the problem was messenger was being assigned here, and it was not matching, right? Because messenger was what it was being assigned to, not messenger. So actually, if we go back here and we do this, just to kind of prove the point, that what we're passing into Clayton Tron 5000 is assigned to messenger. How about massager? Clayton? Read the error. Oh, did it say what the error was? Following arguments were not given. Where do you see no function clause matching show to? But that message doesn't really tell me that. Because it seems like this didn't match, right? Show connection, messenger. Does it say that messenger is not found? Messenger. Actually, this is a good point. Like this is, I don't know, but probably. It's a good thing to get in the habit of because like I've never seen a Phoenix action clause error, right? So you learn how to read these things pretty intuitively over a long period of time. The interesting part here is that no function clause matching show to. That's obviously not true. All right, time's up, so we're gonna have to wrap up here. It's interesting because there's nothing matches, right? But we know that of course it matches. There's a show and it has two arguments, but it doesn't because this message. And actually, this is some of the power of Phoenix, and this is just like because I happen to know this. If we say we also accept something called massager, Clayton. How about we do Clayton? Let's just keep it simple, Clayton. In the router, we say you can pass in Clayton, right? So we can have two methods with different arguments. We can assign them both to messenger so that the template resolves correctly, and it works when we do that. So we could literally say you can pass in a Clayton, or you can pass in a messenger. So that's kind of neat. What was it, messenger? What was the actual tutorial? Messenger. Oh, as in like, hello. So messenger
We can get rid of our second method. So show with two arguments existed, but not the right match. It didn't match. So that it's as if that method, it's as if that function. I got to stop saying method. It's as if that function doesn't exist, right? It's kind of cool. So now messenger exists. So what was the index.html under hello world from planet X, right? So now we say hello world from messenger. The messenger should be Claytron. Here it is. Okay. Play around with a bit. Whatever you put after hello will appear on your page messenger. So now if we pass something else like ace high, hello world from ace high. So it just passes down. Okay, well, that's another page of the Phoenix docs. That's getting into pages. Add another page. I wonder what's next. So I guess we'll probably get into routing next. We'll probably just go all the way down. I don't see any reason not to go all the way down on this. Let me know if you have any thoughts on how it went. If you learned anything. This is pretty clean. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. They've obviously taken all of the things from the past and made them just better in a lot of ways. So thank you for watching. And it's Friday, so I guess I'll see y'all on Monday. Thanks for watching, guys.